Welcome to our 5 on 5. Pleased to be joined today by Chelsea Rose, a research archaeologist with SOU. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
It's
Good to be back.
It's been a bit since we've talked about your work. So you're tasked with discovering artifacts from one of Southern Oregon's original pioneers. What are you working on right now?
Well, we got the exciting news recently that we got funding to revisit one of our first digs at the site. Back in 2010, we did a big project out there and excavated kind of all the hot spots on the property. They were going to develop the property, and this is the lower portion of the Britt Gardens site that's now a park. Okay. And that project kind of went out the window and went on hold, so we lost the funding to finish this project. So what happened is we had tens of thousands of artifacts sitting in boxes in our curation facility at SOU that haven't been analyzed. We haven't written a report, and we haven't been able to really figure out what's in there and how it can teach us about the history of this site. So wow. Now we got funding to do that, so that's very exciting.
Congratulations, yes, very exciting. So yeah, it's been, say, 9 years since you've been working on this project. And you said the lower part of the property, am I remembering correctly, it was Peter Britt's house? Yeah,
so the house was there, and in 1976, as part of the bicentennial, there was funding from Jackson County that was used to restore that park. The house burned in 1960, okay. So there's a foundation of where the house was. So.
All right, and so how will you begin the work? I mean, like you said, tens of thousands of artifacts. How do you begin to go through all that?
Yeah, so it's organized. I did that years ago in my own time to make sure it was safe.
It was organized years ago.
Yeah, so now I have to go back in. And the artifacts are just one part of the project, and they're not even really the more important part in some ways, because we have to figure out where everything was in the dirt as we excavated it out. And that's where most of the story comes from, because all things being equal, if it's deeper, it's older. And so that's where we can get the timeline and change over time and more of the nuanced aspects of what was happening on the Britt property, across the property, and over time. And that's what I'm really excited to try to figure out.
Yeah, what has surprised you so far on that project?
Well, you know, when we were doing the excavation, I really had the feeling there was two different garbage piles, and archaeologists love to dig through your garbage. So, and so as part of that, we find things that are the more mundane aspects of everyday life that people don't write down. So even someone as well known as Peter Britt, who we have his photos, his diaries, his stuff, everything. Yeah. Well, now through archaeology, we have his toothbrush and you know, some of the more intimate aspects of daily life that wouldn't be necessarily curated in a museum. So I think we have an older garbage pile that dates to when he first came to town, before he was married, and we have a more recent garbage pile that dates to when he was more, I don't know, more established, more well-known, he had a family. And so comparing those two things will not only help us understand better how he established himself in the region and all his different businesses, but also the town itself. You know, what was it like in Jacksonville in the mining days versus in the 1880s?
Yeah, interesting, fascinating. All right, we're gonna take a quick commercial break.
Yeah.
We'll have much more in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, here with Chelsea Rose, a research archaeologist with SOU, talking about this work you're getting going again on the Britt Gardens, you know, Peter Britt's property. How painstaking and detailed is this work?
Well, in a perfect world, it's very painstaking and detailed. We did controlled excavations of squares, and we go down a little bit at a time. Right. Yeah, these grids. And that's where the science of archaeology comes in. And when you do it well, you can come back 9 years later and figure out where everything was in the soil, ideally. And so I will know shortly how well we did, because I'm going to have to do just that, figure out how, you know, what that dirt looked like, how that site was created over time, because that's really how we're going to get a lot of the details about the site.
Has much changed? I imagine you've seen the site in the last 9 years, or even recently, as a couple days ago. How much has it changed from what you can see?
Yeah, we've done a lot of other projects across the site for other things that were happening, and those did get completed. And so we do know quite a bit about other aspects of the site. But this is really the core portion of the homestead, and it hasn't changed, and that's by design because the city wants to preserve it. So that's good news, is that when we figure out what we've got, we kind of know still where it is on the landscape, and it's preserved for the future so that we can share that with the public.
What's your goal? Are you going to be publishing research on this?
Yeah, so this is one part of like a three-pronged effort to get this work out there. So in addition to this report, which will not only be available to the public, to tourists, this and to other scholars that are researching different aspects of this, we are nominating the site to the National Register of Historic Places, so it will contribute to the National Landmark District of Jacksonville as a subsurface resource. It's not a building, but there's archaeology there that can add to that heritage value. We're also working with the Southern Oregon Library, that they have a digital archives, and we're working on our 3rd digital collection, and this will feature artifacts from the Britt family, and this will pick artifacts that can help us tell that story. Different family members, what we found, different artifacts associated with the wine industry, with photography, with orchard and agriculture, all those things that Britt did to make his impact on the valley.
Fascinating. Well, congratulations.
Thank
it's very
you.
exciting to get back in there. Good to see you.
Thanks.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.